Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hall, and today we are going to do a travel review. So on my channel, I do product and travel reviews almost specifically. And today we're going to be talking about travel. So this video idea came up from a woman in the comments of my Hyatt Ziva Cancun review, which was a 3-part review. If you are interested in that, check that out on the channel. Mentioned about, I did at the very end of the 3rd episode of that review, I talked a bit about the Hyatt Ziva versus the Grand Fiesta Americana Coral Beach. What's interesting about those two resorts is they're right next to each other in Cancun, and they're very similar in the sense of all-inclusive. So in today's video, because of that comment, I'm actually going to do a side-by-side comparison, and I want to talk about a couple items inside of each resort, and we'll do which one wins, and then we'll do an overall winner that from my perspective of where I would stay if I'm heading down to Cancun on that end of Cancun, because both of these resorts, which is the Hyatt Ziva and the Grand Fiesta Americana Coral Beach, are both excellent. They have excellent reviews, and they're both excellent stays and excellent vacations. But let's get into the nitty-gritty details and talk about which one's better in which area. So we'll do that right after the break. Okay, so first place I want to start, like I do in most of my travel reviews, let's talk about the resort overall. So we're going to start with the Grand Fiesta Americana, always on this side. So, well, not on this, there's no, anyway, Grand Fiesta Americana. The overall resort, you know, it's two main wings, or, you know, they're kind of centered towards each other, and then they're facing the pool and the beach. Beautiful resort. In the sense of the layout, it's all, you know, ocean facing, so everything's facing one direction. It's not like multifaceted, which we'll get into the Hyatt Ziva. It's kind of just one long row of rooms, and then like an adult section on the end. So overall, the resort was fine. The layout was fine. The pools where they were, how the restaurants were intermingled throughout the resort. It was good. I didn't have any issues with it. I thought it was beautiful. I didn't really have any problems with the overall layout as I'm thinking back through. Everything seemed to make sense. So if we go over to the Hyatt Ziva, I was very impressed with the layout. It actually felt quite a bit bigger, because remember, the Hyatt Ziva sits on almost like a little peninsula of itself. And it's like a box, and it just feels way bigger because it's not all connected, right? So not all the buildings are connected, and they're kind of, you know, spaced and segmented, and even, you know, the different sections of the resort feel farther apart. So I like the Hyatt Ziva resort layout better because of where it sits, the location it sits, and how everything is kind of encapsulated in its own like corner. So both were beautiful, but for me, the total resort in the layout style, I would give it to the Hyatt Ziva. Bing! So next we're going to talk about rooms. I mentioned this in the Hyatt Ziva resort review. Both rooms are very similar. Even the decor is very similar. It's, you know, it's simple. It's nothing elaborate, but they both kind of nail down, you know, pillow situation. They were very similar, not amazing, but not terrible. Beds were both comfortable, you know, mini fridges, things like that. So from the rooms, you know, the Grand Fiesta Americana rooms were pretty standard. Great views over the ocean. They had great snacks in the room. The fridges were always full. The bathrooms were fine. The shower pressure was fine as well. So, you know, no major hiccups there. The one thing I would say is air conditioning, humidity, you know, wasn't an issue, just wasn't as great as it could have been, which I noticed once we go over to the Hyatt Ziva. So room quality, very similar to the Grand Fiesta, but the Hyatt Ziva, the air conditioning was unbelievable, unbelievably cold. No humidity issues, and I have to say the shower at the Hyatt Ziva was definitely better. The pressure was better, and just the layout. It wasn't, so one thing, it wasn't a tub, where the Grand Fiesta had like a tub setup. The Hyatt Ziva did not. It was more of like a tiled with the rain shower type setup and the wand. So to me, from a room perspective, even though the Grand Fiesta Americana had better snacks, they certainly did, and they refilled them every day, which was dangerous and amazing, I still would give the Hyatt Ziva the room because of the air conditioning, and the showers were just, the bathrooms just were better set up. So Hyatt Ziva wins that one. So next we are going to go to restaurants. Let's talk about food. Both places had incredible food. they were actually probably pretty close to on par in the sense of quality of food. They were very good, very even. Plenty of restaurant choices on both, you know, Italian versus Asian versus the buffets. You know, they both had everything. So the Grand Fiesta had multiple restaurants, all of high quality. We didn't have a bad meal while we were there. The breakfast place that we went to at the Grand Fiesta, which was right next to the water, you literally could sit like right on this open air kind of restaurant, and the water was just coming up like right to the edge of the restaurant. It was beautiful. Hyatt Ziva, you had a restaurant that was by the water, but the water was very far away, but you still had beautiful views. So I feel like the restaurant options were better at the Hyatt Ziva. And then since the quality was this, you know, pretty close to the same. If you're not a huge breakfast person, I kind of can't give the Grand Fiesta the win here, but both food quality were very, very good. The choices I feel like at the Hyatt Ziva were a little bit better, but the pool food at the Grand Fiesta Americana was way above the Hyatt Ziva. So it's interesting because, you know, you have your breakfast, lunch, and dinners, which is pretty standard. And I would say they're both probably the same and probably dead on. But when you're by the pool, and if you're a pool beach type person, you're going to spend a lot of time out there, which is what we do. The Grand Fiesta is way better than the Hyatt Ziva. The Hyatt Ziva, you can get food, but you have to be, if you want it delivered to you and want to order off a menu, you have to be in a cabana. Grand Fiesta, you didn't have to do that. The servers would come around, they would bring you a menu, the menu was extensive and the food was unreal. So pool and beach experience in the sense of food, the Grand Fiesta certainly wins. Straight restaurant quality and restaurant choices, to me, they are dead even. So I would have to say in that scenario, the Grand Fiesta Americana probably wins it on food because dead even on restaurants, but from the pool scenario, the Grand Fiesta definitely wins because you don't need to have a cabana to get that type of service and get the quality of food. Even with the cabanas, the quality of food at the Hyatt Ziva by the pool was not as good as the Grand Fiesta Americana. So we did both, and even, you know, the kiosk they have out by the pool you can go and get your own food. So even if you don't have a cabana, you can still get food by the pool. You just have to go get it yourself. The quality was still good, but the Grand Fiesta still wins it. So food, I'm giving it to the Grand Fiesta Americana. Let's talk about pools. So they both have incredible pools. The Grand Fiesta has like 3 pools that kind of sit next to each other and kind of flow into each other. You have the top side one, you know, with the pool bar, the swim up pool bar, and then you have like a middle one, and then you have another one down at the end that's larger and also has a pool bar. So 2 separate pool bars at the Grand Fiesta Americana. The Hyatt Ziva has pools that are totally separated. They are not intermixed. You have, you know, the one side that's close to the dolphin pool. You have the other side that's close to the beach and the rock jetty that goes out. And then you have the adult only pool, which actually sits up a couple floors. So the Hyatt Ziva is separated, and only one pool has the adult swim up bar, and the other pool has, like, you have to get out and walk up to the bar. So from a pool perspective, I would say the Grand Fiesta Americana probably wins that because they have 2 separate swim up bars. There's only one swim up bar at the Hyatt Ziva, and it got absolutely packed because of that. Because everybody wants to sit in the pool all day long and drink their drinks. That's like the thing you do at all inclusives. It's not that you ever had a problem getting a drink at the Hyatt Ziva. It's just the swim up bar was super popular and crowded. The Grand Fiesta had 2 separate swim up bars, which didn't get as crowded, and you had plenty. So the service across the pools was very similar, obviously outside of the food, but if you were just sitting by a chair, people were coming around at both resorts, and that was a great experience. But I would say the Grand Fiesta Americana, from a pool perspective, I did like how they all linked together. Both had water volleyball. I thought, you know, both were beautiful in landscaping and everything like that. The chair situation probably is a little bit better at the Hyatt Ziva. So if you're worried about getting chairs, I feel like they have more space for chairs. But if we're just, you know, oh man, it's so tight. Now that I'm talking through this myself, it's like, oh my God, which one do you go to? Grand Fiesta Americana felt a little more packed, but I felt like the pool bar situation was better. Hyatt Ziva didn't have that good of a bar with the only one swim up bar, but they were more spread out, and the chair situation didn't seem to be an issue. There wasn't an issue at the Grand Fiesta, but I could see if it was super packed, because we went like little after, you know, in the COVID scenario, so I don't think it was at full capacity. I feel like that would be an issue. So either one, they're very similar, but I'd probably give it to the Grand Fiesta Americana because of the chair situation, because of the swim up bars, because that's the main reason some people go to all inclusives. So 2-2, right? So resort room, food, pools, beach. Grand Fiesta Americana, one beach, facing Isla Mujeres, so it's the beach that gets all the seaweed. I would say that's a huge con for the Grand Fiesta Americana. If you're going anywhere between like May, and we were there at the beginning of July last year, and the seaweed was still pretty bad, but towards the end of the week it got better. So middle of July, I think it clears up. They're constantly cleaning it, but that beach is really bad with seaweed, and they only have one beach. They don't have a whole lot of beach property either. So, you know, it's a decent amount of space, but if the resort is packed, the beach is certainly going to be packed. The Hyatt Ziva, on the other hand, has really 3 water-facing areas. You have the rock ledges, you have the beach that faces Isla Mujeres, just like Grand Fiesta, and then you have the beach that faces the opposite of Grand Fiesta, which is protected by the jetty. So the protected by the jetty beach didn't have seaweed issues nearly as much as the other side. It was actually very minimal, and they cleaned that all up, and you could walk out there onto a sandbar, so that was good. Grand Fiesta only has the one beach, and it is a little cramped, I think, for the size of the resort. So from a beach perspective, I think the Hyatt Ziva definitely wins it, because it's got 3 different sources of ocean views or oceanfront, you know, chilling or whatever you can do, because there's really no beach by the rock ledge. It's just a rock ledge that you can sit there. So, but from a beach perspective, the Hyatt Ziva definitely takes. So it's 3-2. So outside of that, really, let's talk about activities. That's really the last thing. So outside of the pools and beaches, what is there to do? So at the Grand Fiesta Americana, they had lots of daily things going on. You know, they had water volleyball, they had like trivia things going on inside the pool. They had like aerobics classes in the pool and things like that. I don't remember them being much, you know, they had like a whole water sports arena where they had jet ski rentals, paddleboard, things like that as well. And then they had kids zones and things like that as well there. I don't think the kids did much of that when we were at that one, but it was very pool and beach focused. Hyatt Ziva, they had all of that, plus they had pretty extensive kid zone, pretty extensive teen zone with VR. They had the Mulligans golf. They had the paddleboards, water sports things, just like the other place did. They had all the pool, trivia, games, activities, water volleyball, all that. They had saxophone players. There was a lot to do in the sense of activities at the Hyatt Ziva. So if I'm looking at things to do outside of just lounging by the pool and beach, I'd have to give it to the Hyatt Ziva. From an activities perspective, I'd have to give it to the Hyatt Ziva. So what is that, 4-2? And I can't think of anything else I would want to talk about from a resort. Both all-inclusive, so they're both on the same concept there. I'm pretty sure they're similar prices as well. I haven't checked recently, but that kind of ebb and flows, you know, based on capacity and things like that. But they're right next to each other, so it's from a location standpoint, you don't have to go far. They're almost the same exact distance from the airport, so there's really no gain or loss there. So overall, and I said this in my Hyatt Ziva review, if you didn't get a chance to watch that or didn't watch the Grand Fiesta Americana review, go watch both of those on my channel. I'll leave those links down below in the description, but we talked as a group and we would go back to the Hyatt Ziva before we go back to the Grand Fiesta Americana in Cancun. So if you're looking at both, hopefully this helped you hone in your decision. If you have different likes or different necessities than we do as a group or we do as a family, totally understand if you'd head to Grand Fiesta Americana. Just for what we like in our perspective and what we think is important, we would go back to the Hyatt Ziva. The main reason, if I could put one pin in why I would go back to the Hyatt Ziva, because they're so similar, it's location and views. That's it. The place has 180 degrees of water views, 2 different beaches to choose from. If one's full of seaweed or one's packed, you can go the other one. And that alone, the location of being on its own little peninsula, I think makes all the difference. Like in real estate, location, 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 they have a pretty awesome location. So that's everything on the Hyatt Ziva versus the Grand Fiesta Americana, Coral Beach, both in Cancun, Both great experiences. If you're looking at both, hopefully this video helped you make your decision. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments below and we will catch you on the next video. Thank you.